And from Zimbabwe, we're going to go now to Switzerland. And because, as Chido said, food is such a strong connection, it's such a pleasure to have with us Hernan Mans. We were supposed to have Pamela with us from the International Trade Center, but instead we have Hernan with us, and we are more than happy because he manages the Alliance for Action work stream, which is part of the Inclusive Agribusiness Program of the International Trade Center, a joint agency of the United Nations and World Trade Organization. Hernan has been involved in promoting food systems all over the world in places like Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, and the Pacific regions, connecting with producers and food artisans. So let's hear what he has to say today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sasha. Buenas tardes a todo el mundo. Boa tarde a todos. Good afternoon to everybody. It's a pleasure for us as the International Trade Center to be part of this very important meeting. We would like to start by first thanking on behalf of our Executive Director, Mrs. Pamela Coke-Hamilton, the chef Alex Atala, and our long-standing partner, Jose Marie from the Basque Culinary Center for organizing this and for the invitation. In terms of the ITC, for those of you who don't know it, we are a United Nations organization. We work with the UN, and we are also part of the World Trade Organization. And we are a specialized agency working with micro, small, and medium companies. MSMEs, micro, small, medium companies, are quite important when we are looking at achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is because when we count the MSMEs, the women and the youth, they account for around 80% of the jobs created worldwide. Most importantly, small, micro, medium companies, food artisans, and farmers are really the backbone of the food systems we are talking about today. Now, let me start by basically reflecting a bit on what I've heard. Really, the speakers before were extremely interesting and hitting on the main topics of this colloquium. I heard about the role of the chefs as an important one in feeding the world. This was Chef Alex Atala who said that as a keynote. I've heard Matt talking about the role of the chefs as the ones who raise awareness, who are actually communicating and telling the story, but most importantly, raising awareness, which is linked to changing behavior or which is linked to essentially sustainability. I also understand that the roles of the chefs is about making choices. And it is about, as Matt was saying, providing excellent experience or excellent services. Now, linking with what Chido was saying earlier, how is it that the chefs can feed the world, raise awareness, or feed the world in a healthy way, raise awareness in a true way? How is it that they can make the right choices? And how is it that they can provide excellence in the experience to the consumers? And here we come with the most important point, which is about the connections. Everybody is talking today about the shrinking the distance between farm to fork, or between consumer or fork to or farm to table. This is a very, very important objective. Now, what happens when the ingredients that the chefs are using are, for example, coming from thousands of kilometers away? And I show you this example here. I don't know if you can see this. This is a nutmeg, which is essentially a spice. Many of you might use it in the cooking. Now, this nutmeg is coming from Grenada, a small island in the Caribbean, total population 100,000 inhabitants, 33,000 depend on nutmeg and are essentially in the farming of nutmeg and many other crops. So how is it that the chef can connect farm to table in this case, right? How is it that the chef can understand or be sure that this product is actually produced according to the values in a sustainable way, generating good incomes and essentially in a positive way for human beings, for the livelihoods, for the environment, and of course for the economy. And I think this is part of the dilemma of what I wanted to talk to you today. The chefs cannot do this alone. the chefs and everybody in this Congress is talking about the idea of having gastronomy as a tool for transformation. It certainly is a tool for transformation. And we at the ITC believe that it is a pillar, not only of the food system, but of human life. And it has a tremendous power to generate development. But it must be development that connects, again, the whole system, starting from the farm all the way down to the consumer. And for this, we need partnerships. And this is my first point in relation to what we need to do. And not one stakeholder alone, perhaps the farmers or the farmer association, as Chido was saying, or the NGOs, or the food artisans and processors, or the chefs can do it by themselves. Now, this is a bit the key thing. Partnerships are critical. And this is a bit what we try to do at the International Trade Center. Sasha, you spoke about the Alliances for Action. Partnerships, alliances for action. And this is a bit the point. With this networked approach, linking producers, consumers, chefs, coming up with a common vision, and then essentially agreeing on what can be done and what are the gaps, and communicating about this, are critical steps in order to achieve development that is good for all. And that is my second point. It is really about gastronomy as a transformative tool, but we need to base this transformative tool on a values-based system. Right? This is very nice when you say it, values-based value chain or values-based food system, but it has to work for all, and that is really a challenge. And I would like to link with Chido here, essentially, why is it a challenge? It is because if it's a values-based system, it has to be agreed by all. It has to have a very strong bottom-up and top-down approach to be able to have this shared understanding. And I think this is key. It is key because these partnerships enable that some of the perspectives from the producers, from the different stakeholders, from the chef, from the consumer are factored into this. And because of that, it enables making the right choices. It enables raising the right type of awareness, or the awareness that is true. And of course, it enables the excellence which is shared. Let me show you a picture of our second example, which is really about what is happening in one of our projects in Ghana. Now, you see this chocolate bar, which is made out of Ghanaian cocoa. This has been first manufactured in Ghana, which is a very important point. Normally, Ghana exports cocoa beans, and you basically export low value. In this case, we have worked with Ghanaian companies to use Ghana cocoa beans, process it into chocolate bars, and as Chido was saying, support the local market, support the local economy, the regional market, as well as export some value addition. Now, the story here is that when you look at resilience and sustainability, it really starts at the farm. It is much more than the chocolate bar or the way the chocolate bar is produced and the carbon emissions of the chocolate bar itself and the healthy and nutritional values and the taste and so on. It is really about the way in which we are respecting or we are growing this chocolate bar. We are respecting nature. We are growing this chocolate bar. Sorry, the host disabled my screen sharing. In any case, in these pictures that you saw, we were having the idea of a field that was damaging nature. It was not damaging soil. It was about monocropping, cocoa, and that's it. And it was being done with slash and burn, which means burning the soil in order to clear the land and then plant. The other picture, which was all green, it was a lot of biodiversity, several different species of crops, cocoa, trees, was a bit the result. But that was good for the environment, and it's very good. It's regenerative agriculture in this context, right? It is what they are doing now. But it was not enough, because it is really about understanding, and here goes the point about connection and about making the right choices. What are the priorities or needs of most of these stakeholders, including those that are more marginalized or that are so far away from the supply chain or from the consumer? As Chido was saying, if the farmer doesn't have a living income, he cannot worry about the environment and having this very strong, sustainable system of growing the crops, regenerative agriculture. If the farmer and his family or her family do not have food and this food not to be purchased but to be produced, they cannot worry about the environment. So by doing this type of systems with them, the solution came from the farmer groups, from our partners. What we're trying to achieve is targeting sustainability in a very holistic way. The environmental integrity and regenerative agriculture, the living incomes, because these farmers are not only spending less money on food, they are growing what they eat and they're eating what they grow. They are also, of course, selling to the local market and to other markets, other different products apart from cocoa. So there you go. And this is a system in which we've promoted this type of partnerships, but we didn't do it alone. We did it with a network, with the farmer organizations as a means to replicate. And it went all the way down to the consumer who, through the product, has the story and has the information about what is being done and why this cocoa is more sustainable than others. And I think we have a very strong link here with the role of the chefs, with the role of gastronomy as a tool to transform the, let's say, livelihoods, the system. If the chefs, if the consumer-facing companies, if the consumers are even more and more interested in what is behind who made my food, how is it done, and so on, then we are succeeding. But we need to communicate and we need to be researching and very much connected to the right type of information. And I think this is critical. And we can only do that in partnership. We can only do that if we work with the right stakeholders in the different countries. So values-based, it goes beyond the environment, it goes beyond living income. It is really broad, and I think this Congress is tackling a lot of the things that are related to that: food waste, food loss, etc., value addition, etc. Now, I want to also mention another point here in relation to the innovation, the food innovation. I think Matt and I also, I'm sure, Jose Marie spoke about innovation and research. In the nutmeg context, we are working with the Basque Culinary Center to support the Grenadians and the farmer organizations. And with these farmer organizations, we reach thousands in order to develop different products out of nutmeg. And here is a perfect example of how partnerships that are innovative, that are essentially linking those that are not necessarily talking to each other or connected because of the distance, because of the realities, can result in better income, better trade, better sustainability. With the BCC, we are looking at, and many of the chefs that are partners, we are looking at essentially other products beyond the spice, beyond the maize. We are looking at how to use the pericarp, which is a key thing that is essentially gone to waste otherwise. We are looking how to use the shells. We're looking to do all of this. And the idea, interestingly enough, came from the Grenadians and the farmer organizations in Grenada. How is it that we can work together? Now, our role as ITC was very simple. We are putting them in touch. We are putting the Grenadians together with the BCC and the chefs in touch. And we are ensuring that what we are doing is for development, looking at the different elements of sustainability I was talking before. So with these few examples, I just wanted to thank you all about this Congress, the invitation. And I really wanted to leave you with one important takeaway. Action alone, right? Action as in the gastronomy industry for transformation will not generate long-lasting effort unless we are basing this action on a values-based system, unless we have the right partnerships in place, unless we work together. And on this note, of course, the International Trade Center, the UN at large, is at your disposal to partner and do this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hernan. Muchas gracias.